Orion regular meeting for the Planning Commission. Can I have a roll call, please?
Reynolds.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
St. Henry.
Here.
Urbanowski.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Cummins.
Present.
Lovett.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. This evening, we do have a joint public hearing with the Board of Trustees. They will slowly kind of populate the room here at 7:05 for PC 24-41, Lavender Ridge PUD, request for a major PUD amendment located at an unaddressed parcel on the southeast corner of Silverbell and Squirrel Road, parcel 0936-226-001. The applicant, Mosheri Lavender Ridge LLC, is seeking approval to amend the existing PUD to construct 35 townhomes, 37 single-family homes, and 48 duplexes. On the back of your agenda this evening is our general procedures and regarding public comment and including disorderly conduct at meetings. When we get that opportunity, I will open the public hearing, and then we will proceed with a brief presentation from the applicant. After that, that will turn over to the public for their opportunity to state any questions or comments into the record. It is not a dialogue back and forth, but rather a conversation directed directly at myself, the chair, and no one else in the room, including that of the applicant or anyone else. We ask you to keep your comments to no greater than 3 minutes and one trip to the podium, so everyone has an equal opportunity to speak to their questions, comments, and concerns regarding the public hearing. After that, the Planning Commission will get their opportunity to speak during the public hearing portion, the Board of Trustees, and then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion. And the case is on our agenda later on, and then we'll deliberate with formal reviews and procedural items from there on out. With that said, we will not proceed with the public hearing until the advertised 7:05 time period. So with that said, the Planning Commission will proceed with their agenda as far as we can take it until the public hearing component. So that leads us to item 3A, B, C, and D, which is meeting minutes from our previous meeting in October, regular meeting minutes, and then also we had a handful of public hearing meeting minutes from PC 24, 36, 58, and 39. Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that the minutes as submitted be approved for the meetings of October the 16th, 2024.
I have a motion by Mr. Gross. Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Mrs. Urbanowski. Further discussion on the motion? Any public discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please stay with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. That leads us to item number 4, agenda review and approval. Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve the agenda as submitted.
Moved by Mr. Gross, supported by? Support by Mr. Cummins. Further discussion by the Planning Commission? Seeing none, any public discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please stay with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. That leads us to item number 5, which is brief public comment on non-agenda items only. Is anyone here looking to make public comment on a non-agenda item? No one racing up to the podium, and we have no consent agenda items. That leads us as far as we can go since the new business topic cannot proceed or has to precede the public hearing. So give us just a moment here. We will open the public hearing at 7:05, so about 1 minute, please. Just to clarify for the record, I think I mentioned 37 single-family homes. It is 78 single-family homes in the public advertisement as stated in our agenda. I misread it, if I apologize. Thank you. Sounds good. All right, I now have 7:05, so I'd like to adjourn our regular meeting, and I would ask the Board of Trustees if they would like to open their meeting.
Would love to. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Orion Township Board of Trustees to order at 7:05 for the purposes of a joint public hearing, and note the role that we have Trustee/Treasurer-elect Matt Pfeiffer, Trustee Mike Flood, and Trustee/Clerk-elect Julie Dalrymple, and myself present. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At 7:05, I would like to open the public hearing for PC case 24-41. If the applicant would like to step up to the podium, we'll turn it over to you. Would you like to give us a brief overview of the project, and we'll proceed with the public hearing. Dominic, will you do me a favor? Is the green light on at the base of that microphone? Will you press the gray button for me?
It is on now.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good evening, Dominic J. Mosherry, Mosherry Companies. Very proud to be here this evening in regards to a well-thought-out and a better plan for the Lavender Ridge PUD. I want to start off with the basis that this is a reduction of the impact of the original Lavender Ridge PUD. Original Lavender Ridge PUD, didn't state in the public notice, is currently approved for 260 townhomes. We have reduced the density by 99 residential units to 161, reduction of 38%. That's significant. But what we did, we reduced the impacts, and we did not change the integrity of the key parts of the plan of the original Lavender Ridge PUD. That is distance of the homes from Squirrel Road, the distance from the home orientation along the south boundary, the large open space to the east that abuts the Silver Creek community. And I see there's some Silver Creek neighbors here. And we developed Silver Creek back in 2001. And it is a master plan, a PUD that was developed between 2001 and 2005. And this is much smaller in scale to Silver Creek. But in the meantime, I want to talk about the positive attributes of the amended proposed PUD of Lavender Ridge. First of all, the park area along Silver Bell Road at the corner of Silver Bell and Squirrel remains, and we embellished it with even greater landscaping. We kept the, is there a stylist work there? So, okay, yeah, we kept the clubhouse feature. So there, and if we could go to the photo to the left showing the photos of the clubhouse, those two photos there. We have a dynamic range of housing choices. It's not just townhouses. Before, it was 260 homogeneous units. And now we have 161 very varied and optional beautiful architectural plans for the 78 villas, and those are up top. We have 48 duet cottages, and we have 2 renderings there. That's the rear, and that's what you would see from, go back to the one in the bottom right, please. That is the rear, which is beautiful. Looks like the front, covered porches with logias and arbors over the sunshades over the patios. That's what you would see along Squirrel Road, but you won't see it because there'll be a large berm, extensive landscaping, and as it's being shown there. So the most you would see might be the peak of the roof. If you could show this, the midpoint of that roof of the duet, please. That might be the most you would see from day one. In year 5, you wouldn't see it at all. Just like over at Silver Creek, the extensive landscape we did there, people don't even know there's a housing community at Silver Creek along Silver Bell Road with the huge berm, all the trees. And there we have 3 distinguished choices for housing. We have Oakmont at Silver Creek, which is 12-unit, we call them the 12-unit Oakmonts. We have the duet units there, and we have single family. This much mimics that, but on a smaller scale. This is 161 residential units, where the Oakmont at Silver Creek is 566 residential units. So this is quite smaller. But the best part is if we laid over the original, there we go, that's the original 260 townhomes that are approved and currently fully engineered and entitled to construct. And you can see the site plan there, and it denotes the buildings. This is the next site plan is the proposed in black, and then we did an overlay. Voila. You don't see a difference. You have a reduction of 99 residential structures. You have less traffic with this proposal. You have less pervious conditions, so the impact to the environment. The quality and the value will exceed that as far as the ultimate value of the 161 versus the 260, because you'll have the single-family homes that'll be in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. You'll have the duet condominiums, which will be in the $525,000 to $700,000, and then you have the townhomes, which will be starting at $505,000 to $600,000. So do the math, you have a much greater value of the community in housing choices, other than a homogeneous all townhouse. If you can continue, please. So what was approved in the proposed amendment? Clubhouse remains unchanged. Open space remains virtually unchanged. Private open space is increased. Impervious surfaces is less. The number of units or residences is 99 less, or 38%. The overall density, it's approved. Remember, I'm entitled to what we have right now at 4.82 units per acre. I don't think a lot of the neighbors don't realize a significant reduction to 2.98 units per acre. The setback along Squirrel Road remains the same. The private park has increased. The berms are the same and even more elaborate. The traffic counts will be less. And the number of residences along Squirrel Road has been reduced almost by 50%. And the maximum building length along Squirrel Road is less than half. We went from 164 feet to 76 feet. And the phasing, we had two builders as partnerships. Now it's one. We play better in the sandbox, just the Mosheri family. Right now I have my nephew, my brother, Dominic Trigali, architect, and Chris Brunzetti, who's been with us in our family for 70 years. His family has, and we have Nancy, who's here today, Standish, who is the engineer. And it's a lot easier when you have one person and going forward, and we under promise and over deliver every time. And it's a lot easier for us to go with our over budget and do our landscaping and create our magic. And we're very proud and very excited for this. Next one, Nancy. This is the traffic study, so this is the background to that. So there's science to that based on the ITE manual that your planner and your engineers will confirm. This is the cross-section of what it looks like on the south boundary of what that berm along the south boundary would look like. The approved with the building heights and what the boundary, what berm looks like with the trees. You can see the cross-section there. You see the trees in the dark shaded is as they get planted, then you have the ultimate after 5 to 10 years, the height of the trees, what they'll be like after the growth, and there was no visibility. We then recreated the same with the 128-foot average between the existing homes in the ravines at Stonegate, and then that's on the upper right, and in the upper left is the proposed building height in single-family homes that will be along the south boundary, and what the sight line will be between the homes. They won't see each other, virtually nothing but maybe a peak of the roof. And very extensive landscaping, which will be maintained by the homeowners association. All 161 residences will be in a condominium, in 3 different condominiums, and then a master association. And because we have 3 distinct different housing choices, and maintenance of the exterior is included in the attached residences, but the maintenance of the exterior of the single family would be upon the individual homeowner. And that's why we'd have to have different homeowners associations. Next, please. So this is brief. Lavender Ridge. It's the same image that we had before. We're going to have lavender fields along the whole frontage of Silver Bell Road and Squirrel Roads. This is the colored plan that was up there earlier. The architectural renderings will keep going, and we'll show the unique buildings. So the single family will have what we call front porch friendly as a traditional neighborhood design, and the homes will have a front porch orientation. we'll be seeking a deviation and will not be having their garages recessed and the living areas pulled forward, because you can't have the living areas pulled forward and have a front porch. And also, there's a conflict, and you'll see in the last slide, when you pull that family room forward, which is in the ordinance, you end up with a tunnel between the garage and the living room, or the den in the front, going to the front door. Next photo is of another single-family residence, a two-story version. Our duet version with optional walkout lower levels, absolutely beautiful. It's in kind with what we have at the development at the corner of Adams Road and Silver Bell. The name of that condominium is Claremont, thank you. Claremont, should know that my brother lives there. Claremont condominiums, and this is even a higher grade of quality of architecture there. And then we have our townhomes, which will be anywhere from 3 to 4. Are there any 2-unit or only 3s and 4s? 3s and 4s. So we have 3-unit versions of this, and very lovely architectural style, and these will be townhomes. And it'll be a condominium, so they'll be for sale. The whole development would be for sale, but if anyone were to lease the unit, it'd be a minimum of a 1-year lease, which is a restriction we would put on there. There's questions raised by the planner and other comments. There are no restrictions for single-family homes in the 36 square miles of Orion Township. If someone were to rent their home, there's no restriction. We're restricting it to a minimum of 1 year. But it's an intent, it is all to be for sale. And what happens, people get transferred, things change in life, and sometimes they end up leasing their home. So I want to address that now because that did come up a couple times. There's our clubhouse, and we've already built that clubhouse at Adams and Dutton Road. We're going to replicate that community clubhouse, absolutely spectacular. And we'll keep on going. And I want to show you what we're not doing and what's part of the deviation. We're not doing that. We're not proposing that. That is the projection of the 5 feet of the living area in front of the garage. It doesn't allow for a front porch. It allows for a recessed canyon of dark front door. And the eaves, if you look at the 2 eaves, just with your stylus, you can show that. The eaves on the garage and then the eave at the, yeah. So when it gets pinched down, you have about 5 feet of uncovered space going into this front door. If you go back to our architecture, please. We're bringing the front porch out. Keep going, please. There we go. That's one example. The garage is actually forward. The front porch then matches up with, lines up with the garage. And as we do here, I know we have 2 architects on the Planning Commission, which helps out greatly, and they clearly understand, and if there's any questions regarding that, this is a wonderful solution, but it doesn't apply to your current single-family ordinance, so that's one deviation we're seeking. I just want to remind ourselves we're reducing the density, 99 residential units, reduction of traffic, reduction of pervious services, all the setbacks regarding Squirrel Road and Silver Bell Road remain the same, or if not further, and over a 34-acre park that we would voluntarily be donating, and that's something that we have in our packet. We had the development agreement that is being reviewed by your council in regards to, if you approve this plan, we've already provided the amended development agreement to the Lavender Ridge PUD in regards to maintenance, regards to building heights, regards to setbacks, regards to maintenance of the roads, stormwater, sanitary sewer, all those things remain constant. So I do thank you for your time and indulgence. I am available for any questions, as Nancy Standish will be also available for any questions as they come up to the public hearing. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for that. If you could step down from the podium for me. At this time, we'll go ahead and open up the opportunity for citizens to state comments and questions during the public hearing portion. If you'd like to make your way up to the podium, if there's more than one, feel free to kind of make a small line behind. But now is your time to state any comments or questions. And if you could, please state your name and address for the record, please, to kick.
Yes, hi, Joe Giordano, 3993 Ridgemont Court. Rochester, Michigan 48306. And I don't know if you can accept it, but this is a letter from the Silver Creek Homeowners Association.
We have it, I think.
Yep, we have that
The
in
new
our-
one?
our packet. If it's a new one, it can,
That he sent?
yes.
I wasn't sure he was sending it to you.
Yep, that is in our packet this evening.
October 30th dated?
I believe so,
We
yes.
have it.
Okay. All right. My house is located right on the corner there. There's a cul-de-sac with 4 homes, and we're in the corner of where the park is going to be. And I guess the question I've got is, who owns, yeah, right there, who owns the park? Is it going to be Orion Township or Lavender Ridge?
So there isn't going to be a dialogue back and forth, but we are going to take, I'll make record of that and the opportunity for the applicant to respond if they so choose later on during the public hearing.
Okay. And of course, you know, the concern is, and is Dominic?
Yes.
He did talk about it. I mean, the roads are the concern, of course, and one thing I guess we are happy about is that we've lived there like 21 years, and if we got to have a development, Mosherry's, I guess, a good choice. He's a pretty good builder, I think, so quality stuff. But we just want to make sure with the park where we're at, we kind of butt right up against that park. And there's going to be a separate entrance to the park on Silver Bell. And I guess the concern a little bit is that road kind of goes like this, you know, up to where our house is, and you make a right turn there on Ridgemont Court. And you just want to make sure that people can see those cars turning in and out of there on that. And I guess it's going to be a gravel parking lot, I think is what I read on that. So I don't know, again, the big thing for me, and how much of that is going to be still wetlands? Is part of that park over to the right, is that all going to still be wetlands, the stuff over to the right?
We'll
That's
have the
not being developed?
Yeah, I'm taking notes of questions asked, and there will be the chance after everyone kind of gets their opportunity to respond to you.
Okay, all right. I think that's about it.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
For your comments, we appreciate it. Additional public comment during the public hearing portion. And if you could start with your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Owen Jennings. I live at 1229 Ardmore Court, Orion Township. And my house is the one that's right off of Squirrel, the northwest house. So my home, my property will run up right to it. I have absolutely zero problem, for the most part, with this endeavor. I think it's great. They own the land. They should be able to develop it as, you know, as they see fit for residential. My main concerns is I have 2 kids. There is absolutely no way for them to get across Squirrel to go to a park. There are no sidewalks. There is no to either corner. So either at, Silver Bell or Dutton. So you're putting more traffic in there. It's a stretch of road that has 0 speed limit. So everyone goes 50 or more. It's not safe for kids to go on their bikes and just go to a park, which I think we all can agree. We want kids using the parks for their intended purposes. Adding more vehicles. How are we going to control the traffic where kids can safely cross the street? I understand that putting a light in there at sometimes isn't the best idea for it all the time. I know they put one in at Rochester Road and Stony Creek where it only acts as a light. Most of the time it's just a stop sign. But during high traffic areas, that would be something that I would definitely request, or even just a push button where, you know, kids can cross or install sidewalks. Because now you're adding 2 more entrances into a neighborhood along the same road. The idea of being hit by a car is not something any parent wants to deal with. So I'm all for the development. I just want to see some additional safety for kids to be able to access these parks, because I think that's something that would be great for the community, and I think we all can agree that we want kids using those things instead of doing other things in there, what they can come up with. I was that kid, so I can definitely know from experience, but that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you for your comments this evening.
Thank you.
Additional public comments during the public hearing portion.
Scott McCarty, 4080 North Squirrel Road. I would like to also comment on what the previous commenter had said, in that having additional sidewalks or safety paths would be a great idea. I also, based on not having the knowledge necessary before coming up here to speak, would like to confirm that what the developer had presented, in the fact that he was offering to decrease what is zoned proper for that property. If in fact what he's proposing is a decrease in what he is legally able to do so, fantastic. If in fact there's question on that, I would like to know more details on that. Also, I don't know how this affects the wetlands in that area. Obviously, there's lowlands and wetlands in that area, and I hope that those will be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Additional public comments.
Ron Garrick, 4070 North Squirrel Road. Looking at this plan for development, I see two egresses to the development right on Squirrel Road. Perhaps thinking that maybe we should consider coming off of Silver Bell, because I don't believe that you can widen Squirrel. I don't know if that's part of the plan, but as it is now, there are many times when it's backed up all the way to Dutton, all the way to Walton Road. So that's my major concern, and I think that's going to make it more difficult for young folks to get around, even with crosswalks and whatever. I don't know if it's feasible, because I see that's a park and wetlands, to have another egress off of perhaps Silver Bell. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Additional public comment. All right, any additional public comment from the audience? All right, can we go ahead and read the, tally the citizen letters into the record, please?
Sure. So we received 3 letters from a Helen de Avila, a Paul Hannenberg, representing the Silver Creek of Oakland Homeowners Association, and Owen Nagy. Generally, you would classify these as being opposed to the development. One of them brought up significant concerns about the density, traffic, and natural resources that would be impacted by this development. The other 2 recognized the value and the benefits of this development, but they did have concerns about the traffic and impact on the wetlands in the area.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll turn over the Planning Commission for their opportunity to have any questions or comments during the public hearing portion of this evening. Seeing none, I'll turn it over to Mr. Supervisor, if you have the floor, if there's any comments, questions from the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. I want to just correct, when I called the roll, I neglected to note that our treasurer, Kim Urbanowski, is here. Thank you, Kim, for being here in 2 spots. So I'll just open with a few of my comments, and then I'll open it up to my fellow board members. And I don't want to speak for the developer, but I know a lot about this because we've been meeting quite a bit with the developer. I will say that it's pretty safe to say that no one loves development near their home. Yep, same. Guilty. But I would just say a couple of personal comments and then just a couple thoughts from my day job, my seat in the office here. If you do have development happening, and I don't say this lightly, you're lucky to have a company and a family as deliberate and intentional as the Mosheri family. They have a reputation that precedes themselves, and so we're grateful that they're choosing this development. It is a privately owned piece of property that will be developed. And I will tell you, in the 12 years I've been in this role, I've seen probably 12 different plans for this site in concept, and one that was approved. It should be noted that there's an approved plan unit development that was referenced in the presentation, and that is, they could put a shovel in the ground tomorrow and build that, which is rental units. These are units that will be for sale, so, and a much higher quality development and a lot less dense. So I personally, I used to live in the sub, Oakland Ridge, which is right behind Jesse Decker Park for 12 years. I appreciate the reduction in density without giving up the amenities. Oftentimes, in my role, in 12 years, we see developers that will come in and want to give us something, but there's always a catch. And I will just say clearly that we didn't want to lose the clubhouse. We didn't want to lose, personally, I love the lavender fields. It might seem cheesy, but they will deliver that. There's nothing like that really exists around here. And then the high-quality architecture. Not to slight other developers and builders, but there's no question that the quality of architecture, what we see on these slides, the nice thing about a plan unit development is that they will be held to these images. This quality, straight rezoning process allows them to build pretty much the bare minimum, which just sets the density. But the plan unit development process, which they're looking to amend tonight, will fix. These are the things that they will do, this quality. So I know, and I read the letters that were in our packets that were referenced. I know that people that live next to the development aren't necessarily excited to see this change. We still have questions, and we're working through with the developer what we do with that park. I will tell you, whether it is a township park or a developer or HOA-owned park, our desire would be the same thing that we did with this same developer at Heron Springs, just due west of here before you get to 24 on the south side of the road. We have a park there as well. It's a completely passive park. We put there will not be a swing set, there will not be a baseball field or a soccer field. We want this to be virtually a nature preserve. They were willing to pave trails in there, and we said we would rather have, in these pre-application meetings we said that we would prefer them to be more natural, like wood chips, or even like the deer paths, just kind of the paths that exist, that we want people to use them and be able to walk through there and take their dogs for a walk and enjoy the natural spaces, but also we don't want to see a heavily developed park. Our Parks and Rec director agrees. So we're still working through those details. But on the high level, I would say this is a good move for the township. I fully support it based on the 260 units that were approved, which I still think was a high-quality development, but anytime we can go less dense, less traffic, and higher quality units that are for sale, not for rent, that's a win-win-win on behalf of the township. So those are my comments. And I just want to say one more thing. The developer is not required to do a lot of this extra stuff, and I might regret saying some of these things, but they've been really forward about meeting with us, giving us a lot of additional details, so they're not just showing up here and we're not seeing this for the first time. And I appreciate that too, because we are sensitive to these types of things that are going to change the quality of life of the people that live around it. So those are my comments. Thank you. Any of my fellow board members want to chime in?
Mr. Supervisor, I completely agree. I like the nature center. We have two of those in our township. Leaving a natural beauty, I think that's great. And that will help that neighbor out to the east there. And also, in my tenure serving on the board, it's unusual, and I like to see it when they come back for a reduction in density. I like seeing that and giving us more open space. So I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mike, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's a great looking development. I agree with everything my fellow board members have said in terms of the quality that Mosherry's brought to the community thus far. The pathways, and, you know, this will probably go back to the board there, but I would like, it looks like there's pathways there, and that question came up from some of the homeowners. I think safety paths are part of our requirements at this point anyway, so I think that's going to be part of it, but I just, I think that's important to make sure that we've got that covered, and that's something that would be important to me to make sure is there. I know the park is still being figured out in terms of detail, but anytime we can have protected space, that's a win, because there are definitely developers that would be coming in to look and fill every nook and cranny they can. And you know, the appetite for that from me and probably I think a lot of our fellow citizens is not great. Yeah, the pathways and I don't know the crosswalk consideration, again, I think that gets a little out of the realm of the development, but that was brought up as well, and I think that's important if there is a way for us to help, that we can take a look at that. But I don't know, I think that gets a little out of our realm. But at any rate, thank you for the presentation and thank you for the reduction. I think it makes a much nicer product.
I'm going to echo everything that everybody said. You all went first.
Thank you. And yeah, and I meant to answer that question. Thank you, and Matt did, and I'm sure Mr. Landis will. Our ordinance requires when developments happen outside of just a single-family home, so a neighborhood or a commercial development, our ordinance requires a safety path along the road frontage. And yes, they will be including this, so I think it was Mr. Jennings that said that. I see your house, you do live right there, that path will go right basically to your backyard. Some of the older developments don't have sidewalks or safety paths because the ordinance didn't require at the time. Mid-block crossings we love, the road commission hates. So we lobby all the time. The roads are under the jurisdiction of the Oakland County Road Commission. All of our roads, except for private roads, and M24 is under the jurisdiction of MDOT. We love to try to put mid-block crossings in for pedestrians, but it's really challenging to get approved. And Mark would probably echo this, but MDOT would rarely ever, if ever, put a mid-block crossing so close to an intersection of Squirrel and Silverwell. So the good news is there will be a safety path along the frontage of Squirrel that residents from that sub could take to the crossing, to the street crossing at Squirrel and Silverwell, cross safely, and then come back south down to Jesse Decker Park if that's where they're trying to go. But there will be a safety path as part of this project, per our ordinance and part of the PUD agreement. All right, with that, I'm going to let Kim save her comments for when she's wearing the Planning Commission hat tonight. I'll yield back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Chris, you did allude to the general process, and I will just clarify that here so everyone in the room is aware. Anytime that there is consideration of an amendment from a PUD and there was an approved PUD on this parcel, as the applicant has previously mentioned, but any modification is considered, you know, amongst the staff and then agreed to on what process it takes. This was obviously a significant change, which kicks this PUD back to the initial process, which engages both ourselves as the Planning Commission and also the Board of Trustees, which is why you see them here this evening, including re-advertising for the PUD in general and the amendment in this case. So that said, it is a multi-step process engaging both the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees. This evening, we'll further deliberate here next after the public hearing, but we are recommending body. It goes to the Board of Trustees, and then there's another component, essentially a second step. This is the concept understanding, and then, and an amendment. This is one.
An amendment, it's one step.
Thank you very much for that. Sorry about that. So it will still go to the Board of Trustees. So it is essentially a two-step process in this case with the amendment that we're recommending body, and then it would go to the Board of Trustees trustees. So Chris kind of initiated that there's some components that are in discussion, and I will just, from my own experience as the chair, I know our Parks and Recreation Director is very engaged in these conversations and essentially trying to make it the most for the township, whatever it might be, and trying to equalize the assets as opportunities like this are presented to ourselves. So I have full, you know, I look forward to seeing what our Parks and Recreation Department does with this, no matter what it might be, whether it be a passive park with trails or whatever it would be. So there will be some further discussion with that after the public hearing, but I would turn it back to the petitioner if you'd like the opportunity to, this is your opportunity if you so choose to answer some of the comments and questions. Obviously, some were kind of spoken to from the Board of Trustees, just bigger picture, but now's your opportunity, and I also kind of have a list up here if you want some prompts. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, let me address the crossing of Squirrel Road from our entrance over to Jesse Decker and the community entrance to the south of the Jesse Decker entrance. The supervisor is correct. The Oakland County Road Commission will control that, but I would like to do and volunteer a flashing cross sections that is done by motion sensor we have the crosswalk already shown there in the plan, and I would ask that with the road commission and the township's approval, that we couldn't do it because it's in the road right away. It would have to be done by the road commission, but we would fund that. But also the speed limit is set by the Michigan State Police, which is very odd, not by the road commission. So we're going to petition for a speed limit reduction on top of that. So when we get through these plans, we're going to petition for a speed limit reduction and a flashing signalization there. One thing that he didn't mention that's already in the approved PUD is a contribution for improvements to Jesse Decker Park. That remains. Just because I'm reducing the density from 260 to 161, we're keeping the amount of the donation the same. We're not changing it. So it remains the same amount of monetary contribution for the improvements to Jesse Decker. In regards to the path, it's a tail wagging the dog, but it's important, and I understand the concerns of the Silver Creek residents. So if you see that loop right there, I see no reason why we couldn't bring that loop, and it's just a mowed pathway. It's not going to be paved, and I prefer not to do wood chips. It'll be more like a deer path, just a pathway that'll be mowed for the first couple seasons, and after that, it takes a life of its own and doesn't need mowed at all. It's a passive park. But we would move that mowed area 100 feet further south at a minimum. So we would bring that loop much further down. In that southern loop, and there's a question regarding the crossing the wetlands. We're not, we have a wetland permit for the entire development with the Department of Environmental Quality. That would require the same, but we would not even plan on doing a boardwalk. It is a seasonal crossing, and if it's something that we can't get a simple permit for, we would eliminate that mowed loop, and people would just walk the nature area as they do today. So it's not set in stone that that's absolutely necessary, but we would apply for, actually, just a permit for a mowed path. We would not be putting any fill in that area. There was any other questions, Mr. Chairman, that I have not addressed?
The regulation of the park, if you want to speak
Yes.
to that, I know the Mr.
Sure,
Supervisor
so
spoke
we're in
to
this,
that.
we're in discussions. First of all, it's a passive park, would not be for active recreation. We would be building a restroom, a compost toilet restroom like you'd see at a national park, and we've seen it other state parks. And that would be with the gravel parking lot. We want to make it as less impactful as possible. We do understand the site distance issues regarding the going down into a valley. We think that's the best location for site distance, and it's further from Kern Road. And it would not require a bypass lane for the de minimis amount of traffic that goes in there. The traffic going in that park would be less than that of a single-family home for the daily trips. The daily trip for single-family home is 10 to 12 trips. We wouldn't anticipate that the trips for here would exceed that amount. It might be double that, but it's going to be typically at off-peak hours. If people don't visit the park at peak hours between 7 and 9 a.m. and between 4 and 6 p.m. These are usually daytime visitors to a nature interpretive park, passive park like this. Mr. Chairman, anything else that I may have missed?
Generally, you spoke to the wetland impact, obviously spoke to the request to have a crosswalk.
You know, our residents,
Yeah.
we want the safety for the residents for the future of Lavender Ridge who are going to use Jesse Decker Park. So we clearly would like the crosswalk to not only serve the current residents, but our residents.
I didn't realize that was in there, but that's great, assuming the road commission will allow us to.
That's correct.
One other comment, if you so choose to kind of speak to it, was the ask of ingress egress to the development from Silver Bell versus Squirrel Road.
Okay. The first consideration, we want to keep as much of a natural buffer as possible. And was our goal, one of the goals. Second goal is safety, just as the concern regarding the site distance and having an entryway there. There would have to be a bypass, a decel lane, an acceleration lane, and a bypass lane, and it would be quite impactful. There is a plan, and has been a plan, that had multifamily and single-family dwellings in there. They had 25 lots in that area, and I nixed it. No, I said, I want to preserve the plan we have. The commitment originally was for 34 acres of open space there, and there's a site distance issue that is hard to overcome, and at some point in time, we've had enough. I don't need any more density. I had a partner. I want to make it very clear. You notice there's one developer, not two. The partner and I had a disagreement. We bought him out. We wanted to keep this as low impactful as possible and preserve the entire integrity of the plan. I have 5 relatives that live just west of here off Silver Bell Road in Orion Township, and I have 6 relatives, including my own family, who live just east of here off Silver Bell Road. So we are ingrained in this community, especially this location. This is where we live, work, and play, and we're very proud to have made the change for the better. And sometimes listening to the community, listening to the staff, even though it was approved, there was a lot of consternation, and it was time to wind it back and rethink the plan, and we think this is a superior plan and better for the community.
Thank you very much. At this time, if you don't have any other concluding comments, I'll close the public hearing at 7:47. If the Board of Trustees, if you would like to close your meeting, we will reconvene the PC after so.
We concur. I will close the special meeting of the Board of Trustees at 7:47. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'll reconvene the regular PC meeting at 7:48. That leads us right back to the same case. I will ask, obviously, formal procedure, the petitioner has the opportunity to speak. If not, I'm going to turn over to our consultants, get the reviews out on the table, and then we can have further discussion if there's anything else you'd like to speak to.
I have no further comment, but I'd like to change the screen if I could, that shows the plan that's approved, overlaid on top of the plan that we're proposing.
Yep,
I
go
think
ahead.
that technical plan is the more important. This is salesmanship. I want to go to fact and science.
Yep, understood.
Thank you.
All right, with that said, I'll turn it over to our planner for their review if you'd like to kick us off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. We had a chance to look at the project, and you do have a review from me, 2 reviews actually. The landscaping came in a little bit later. But the process as indicated, this is a one-step process for a previously approved, pretty significant PUD, and pretty significant in terms of density. And we as a planning commission, over the course of the at least last year for sure, 2 years, have been talking more and more about the PUD ordinance, and the term recognizable benefit has come up many times. And so I do want to compliment the applicant, because just looking at this plan, it clearly shows a recognizable benefit on the allowance for setback modifications, lot width modifications, lot size modifications. And those recognizable benefits are clear in regards to the clubhouse, the parkland, the significant screening and berming from the existing project to the south, and just the overall feel of the project, the mix of housing, which we've talked about in need in the township. My review is pretty clear-cut. They did a nice job on addressing the PUD benefits and why this change from a density of approximately 100 units and the mix of uses would be permitted under our ordinance. The idea of the landscaping, I have some more clarification questions, nothing major, but the applicant is providing much more landscaping than would be provided for a typical site condominium or subdivision of this type, and that's clear with the plan as shown. Based on the ordinance requirements for PUD major modifications and PUD requirements for recognizable benefits and approval, we are recommending approval with some of our minor comments attached.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll turn over to OHM for their engineer review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our letter of October 31st, 2024 was our first review of the second major PUD amendment for Lavender Ridge. Couple highlights here before I get into our conclusion. I appreciate the applicant acknowledging that the public benefits to Jesse Decker Park are still being offered. That was a question we had. Appreciate that. As well as the issue of phasing. I understand now that this will be a single phase, which I appreciate the clarity. As the applicant kind of indicated in their overview, there are no major changes to the water or sanitary sewer. As you may recall, the sanitary sewer actually flows south into Auburn Hills through the Stonegate Ravines project. There's already an existing agreement in place, which will just have to be amended with the city. I foresee no issues with that, given the fact that we're actually reducing the anticipated flow. But that'll just be an administrative issue to handle. No additional, no major impacts or changes to the stormwater, paving or grading. And I don't foresee a need to redo the traffic study either, since we do have an anticipated lower number of trips being generated by the change. Overall, it was our concluding comment that the major PUD amendment is in substantial compliance with the township ordinances and engineering standards. And we did have 8 comments that we would like to be included in any approval that you may consider tonight. I can go through those real quick like you'd like.
Either way, if you want to have a summary, wonderful. If not, I know it's in our packet, so.
Okay, it's in your packet. If you have any questions, feel free to answer.
Wonderful.
Feel free to go ahead.
This evening, we also had a review from the fire marshal, generally recommending approval, but does have comments of approving some of the turning template as echoed by the engineer's review. And there was a public services review on top of that. With that said, that opens up the opportunity for the Planning Commission to deliberate. I don't know if there's anything at this time that the applicant would like to speak to before we kind of open up the case, but obviously we'll get into deliberation. Okay, with that said, who from the Planning Commission wants to kick us off?
I just have a couple things.
Go ahead, Kim, make sure your mic is on for me, please.
Just a couple things. I do, I thought that the plan to begin with was lovely as it was, but I am very pleased to see the reduction and the intentionality behind some of the things that are in here. Clubhouse, the lavender fields, the park and all of that, the conservation. I forgot where I was going with that. No, honestly.
Lavender will do that to you, apparently.
Yeah, I know, lavender will do that to you. I was gonna say something else. Please, I will come back to it. Sorry.
Mr. Gross.
I've got a couple of questions and concerns. The Condominium units, is that going to be a site condo or lot condos? Because,
Go ahead. You go ahead if you would.
Mr. Gross, continue with all your questions. I'll answer them at one time.
okay, I'm concerned if they're lot condos, then we're dealing about setbacks between lots. If there's just a site condo with no lots, then setbacks don't become an issue respectively. Next question is, are the roads going to be public roads or private roads?
I'll answer them all at one time.
Okay. As the road intersects with the subdivision to the south, might it be appropriate to have a consideration for a speed bump at that intersection or at that location? Since the road, it's a kind of a straight shot all the way around, and just to identify the distinction between the subdivision and the new development, a speed bump with an identification of a speed bump might assist in at least slowing the traffic down from one to the other. Yeah, so that's, I think, something we should consider. The other concern that I have is that this is going to be, will be the new urbanism in the township. The township has consistently been a mega lot development. This is going to be mini-sized. The distance between the single-family units is 10 feet. That's an equivalent to the width of a parking space. So we are looking at a brand-new type of visual impact where there will be no windows on, basically no windows on the intervening units. It's going to be 10 feet and a wall on either side. And that's something that we have to acknowledge at this stage as a new type of development that we would be experiencing in the community. And it's, I guess it's been classified as new urbanism. The kind of house subdivision I grew up in where, you know, you could reach out your window and touch your next door neighbor. So that's a concern that I think we need to put on the table. So the other thing was, there are going to be decel lanes and passing lanes at the squirrel entrance. And there is no, the plan that I had received earlier showed a drive onto, an entrance drive onto Squirrel Road, and this plan shows no drive onto Squirrel Road, correct?
You meant Silver Bell. We have two.
Excuse me, on the
I understand.
Silver
You meant
Bell.
Silver Bell, yep. That is correct.
Other than the park.
Other than the park.
That's correct.
So the plan I had was an earlier plan that showed a drive onto Silver Bell, which I like. I guess those are my initial comments.
Okay. Well, Sherry, I'll provide you the opportunity to respond. Obviously, site condo, lot condo, public, private, transition, some of those
Yeah,
comments.
who's going to be maintaining the roads? Is it going to be the county or is it going to be the subdivision?
There'll be, so I'll start with the roads in the community. There'll be private roads, maintained and through the special assessment. You go to the street view in that cul-de-sac, please. And I'll address this next one regarding this new urbanism concern. This is the exact distance. These are 10 feet between. Can you zoom in between those two homes there? This is the same lot dimension size, architectural similarity, brick roofs and porches, but it's not as jammed in as you impressed because of the style of the architecture and how we set back and do the offsets. Yes, it is 10 feet, but we have great success on Squirrel Road in the city of Auburn Hills, where these detached condominiums are now reselling on average for $685,000 to $800,000, so about $700,000 has been the resale of the last 3 years on this community. And there's been no effect of the valuation due to the proximity, but there has to be some give and take in regards to, with the greater reduction, the distance between homes. Now, if you can see to the one home has a loft because there's the upper window on the other side, I'm sorry, on the side yard of the house to the left. Next house over here. So that shows evidence of some of these homes have second-story living spaces. Most are ranch-orientated. We just randomly picked this cul-de-sac. But these are the same lot width, size, and depths. So in the detached cottage or villa section, these will be site condominiums, and the setbacks are set. They're in stone. As we talked about the 10 feet. There is some things brought up by Mr. Enos in regards to the rear-to-rear dimension, that the rear yards of the single-family are 29 feet versus 35 feet. So the total of approximately 55 feet between homes, 55 to 58 feet. 58 feet would be, I think, 29s are tightest rear yard. Okay, so it's 58 feet, but we're providing all the landscaping. In a traditional single-family subdivision, you would have 70 feet between homes. But guess what? It'd be a sea of sod. There's no trees, there's no landscaping, nothing's put in place. We're putting the imposition on ourselves that we provide the landscaping from day one. We put in all these pine trees and deciduous trees and create this wonderful landscape plan and buffer. And so it's far better to be 58 feet apart with landscaping, dense landscaping, without jungle gyms and pools, because there'll be no invisible fences permitted. We won't have the jungle gyms. We won't have the trampolines, the above-ground pools, and all that stuff that's in the 35-foot rear yard. There's nothing in the rear yard but landscaping. We have the common amenities. We have the pool, the fire pit. We have everything else going on in the common elements for the entire community. So this section, called Lavender Meadows, would be its own condominium association where the exterior landscaping of the home and the snow removal would be maintained by the homeowners association, not the maintenance of the exterior of the home. So the painting of the home that needs to be done every 7 years, roof maintenance and anything else is the obligation of the individual homeowner. So it is a site condo, but if it was a site condo, a regular condo, the setbacks are fixed regardless, which is a concern you had, Mr. Rose, and I respect that, as we have that concern. But I think it's a far better plan to have that intensive landscaping between the units, and I'm glad that it was picked up by the township's planner by saying, look, you're only 29 feet backyard, it should be 35 feet, and that's superior, though, because of the landscaping. So I think that's a great advantage. So I covered the condo, it'll be private roads, the orientation between homes, whether you're satisfied or not. I'm giving you a live example down the street. You could drive through there and say, wow, this is pretty lovely. Because we have a streetscape. We have a mandated, landscape plan in the front yard and in the rear yard, so it becomes a better plan of sorts. Yes, first it's shocking, 10 feet. As junior high school, you could drive roof to roof. But it doesn't give you that impression when you actually get there. So dimensionally, it looks crowded. Physically, when it gets built out, it is very pleasant. The connection from the ravines of Stonegate, whatever the public safety wishes to do there, we are in support. Whether it's a speed bump, whether it's a gate, whatever it may be, we're in full support of that, and it'll be at our cost in whatever they determine. One thing is during construction, it will be gated off. It'll be a removable gate. So until the last home is built, there'll be no construction traffic coming through the subdivision to the south, and everything will be signed and posted accordingly.
Mr. Landis, you had a comment real quick here?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the speed bump, transition there. It's my understanding that the fire department prohibits speed bumps. So I can assure you they would not be in favor of such a thing. So.
I've actually been told it's against fire code.
Yep, so you understand the concern, and the same thing actually goes for the gates and general transitions. We're looking for safety and connectivity, but, no, so it's been a topic of discussion on the township side.
Whatever they determine, we will install or not install. Was there anything else, did I miss anything, Mr. Gross?
The landscaping in between, all the landscaping on the site will be done by the HOA.
That will be maintained by the HOA, installed by the developer of the home, so it won't be landscaped after the fact. It's part of the COO process, so before sod goes down, it's landscaped, so it won't be staged where someone purchases their home, and then you're waiting for your neighbor to landscape it for the next 6 months to a year. It's instant, it's done, and it's complete.
10-foot areas will be maintained by
Homeowners Association.
and not by individuals.
That is correct. It prevents sometimes, fences and neighbors, the saying, good fences make good neighbors. In this regards, the maintenance between, there'll be no consternation or controversy to how it's maintained. It's just the association.
I had a few comments. Generally speaking, do appreciate the reduction in density. Obviously, that's a topic we feel like a broken record here as the Planning Commission. So I favor that, and with the realization that obviously a different product comes different numbers and equations here. Although some deviations from our kind of standards in the zoning ordinance, I think there's plenty of other things that make up for it. And what I mean by that is the clustering of homes, right, even 10 feet apart. We've had discussions on projects on how that can be close. And I agree with that. But when they're close in creating and preserving density, and they're creating additional landscape area, and there's common amenities and extensive walking paths, those are the things that are the byproducts that we're looking for when I see those deviations. Our master plan spoke greatly to this idea of kind of new housing types, and you're right, Mr. Gross, a lot of those kind of just go back to early planning principles that have been deviated with urban sprawl, and that's where new urbanism kind of comes into the fact to try and understand and bring back those cluster areas, which is a lot of why our master's plan, one of the topics was the 15-minute neighborhood, which this is actually one of them. So in generally speaking, I'm in support of the plan and its amendment, and can kind of see the greater good that's being created because of some of the deviations that are created. Me personally, some of the topics as you spoke to as the applicant, and I think in our reviews of understanding kind of recessed garages, that's a comment that really in our PUD ordinance, I'm not a stickler on. Every project can stand on its own in a PUD, but what I'm looking for is high quality architecture, and architecture that deviates from lot to lot, right? And I think just based on the home elevations that you're proposing, an example of other developments, you're providing us that. And I agree from a plan standpoint, that can be that factor, although good intent does lead to I guess some tricky components within a plan, and I can oversee maybe a front-facing garage when the entire block has an appealing elevation, right? Versus a home that's repetitive one after another, and I think that's really where that goal is after. In regards to our planner comments and our engineer comments, they're pretty minor. I have pretty good confidence between the developer and our staff that they could work through these comments. Nothing to me is sticking out here that would hold this project up from I would love to see this built just like I really enjoyed the past plan, but I do and definitely enjoyed the significant decrease in density with this. I do like, and thank you for clarifying this evening, that essentially the contribution to Jesse Decker Park is there, and the fact that preemptively, even before the comments were brought forward this evening, that you guys have already thought about traversing that area and creating a safer environment for kids. I too actually have spent many years living in this quadrant of the township and very familiar with what Squirrel was and what Squirrel has become and all the developments around there. And it's definitely a change, but I do appreciate the effort to preserve some of those corridors. And I think, to me, you know, no connection to the developer, but the setback from the road, these are good planning principles that we've asked for in our master plan, and we're seeing here enacted within a plan. So I'll kind of leave it with that and allow other planning commissioners to provide their comments, questions.
I just want to go
Go ahead,
back to it. The garages was where I was trying to go with that, the recessed garages. I agree with that. I mean, I feel like 4 years ago we were arguing, but it doesn't have side entry garages. I think there's an interesting thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but, you know, we keep talking about home ownership and how people want to own homes, but maybe they don't want to have, you know, the massive yards to take care of and all of that. And it's okay, I think, to look at something like this. Maybe people don't want the big backyard. They just want a little area to sit in. But, you know, I think this is so beautifully thought out, to be honest with you, that I have absolutely no problem with how they're sitting close together. And I think the architecture's beautiful. You know, the facade is the way that we were kind of envisioning it, without having that recessed. And you're right, that I lived in a home that had that door. It's awkward. I mean, I'd much rather have a porch. Yeah, it was bizarre. But, so that's what the garage was, what I was trying to get to.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, we have significant grade from Squirrel Road down to the Nature Preserve area. If you could show that, or put this out, so from, just take from Squirrel Road, I'm sorry, yeah, there's a good visual. We have 60 feet of fall. We have 60 feet of fall. That's quite significant. And you go back to the rendering. We have, because the grade shifts, as on the corner lots, we are trying to, and we show whether we have a side entry garage. So at best, we have side entry garages go to the left, Nancy. Well, there's one there. If you go to there, and we could probably do on unit number, what's here? So where we can, we're going to provide architectural differentiation and add where we can the side entry garage, but we're going to be using architectural garage doors. So that's in our, you know, since it's a PUD, you could put as one of the requirements. So they're not going to be boring garage doors. It's going to be pleasant with the architecture as you see in the rendering. And you know, I've seen, you can see the pleasant architectural doors there on the townhomes, the architectural doors on the, let's go to the duets, please. You know, beautiful, it's part of the architecture. And then on the single family, we didn't, you know, miss a beat. You go there in the center one, you blow that one up there. So we're very conscientious about a sea of garage doors. And we want to make it part of the architecture, make it part of the porch. And where we can do a side entry, we're going to do a side entry. Thank you for those concerns. We echo those concerns.
One question while we're on the topic of some of the variation of plans, is, obviously each plan is going to have a slightly different footprint, you know, maximum kind of building footprint. What about decks off of the rear of units? Is
Yeah,
that
so we have
kind of a
put in the,
maximum footprint?
we put in the document, Mr. Chairman, in the PUD agreement in regards to the decks and the a covered porch can be not an indoor living space, can go 5 feet into that setback, and the same thing with the front porch. So that's in our documents that we submitted to the planning office together with our entire packet. And so we don't want to be coming back for variances. So we're showing what it all looks like up front. We did the very, this is garish to someone that's, not in the industry, but you can see the dotted line where we provide that porch. Show that, Nancy, there you go. That would be allowed, that's not a living space, and we have the same in the rear. It maybe doesn't show there, but it would be in the rear also. But not it would not be an enclosed living space. It's outdoor porches only. We believe these illustrations are to the fact in what we had in the previous packet. We mirrored that with the different products and buildings. The architecture for each one of these is completed. We have the architecture done. So we're not guessing. These are not concept plans. These are real plans. And we had this on the bottom showing the grade that was done in the previous PUD, the current PUD, I should say, but much more intensity, much larger buildings. So it's more of a compact and boutique feel. It looks very garish, but we're trying to demonstrate how extreme the grades are.
Understood. Thank you for that. Additional comments, questions from the Planning Commission?
Chairman, my thoughts were originally.
Will you make sure your microphone's on for me, please?
It is.
Sorry, it's not getting picked up in the mic so far. Apologize, but.
Mr. Chairman, when I first looked this over, I was very pleased about the reduction in density. Thank you very much. And the mix of the units is a very good mix, and the deviation is acceptable based on the fact of the rental units, not big on the rental units. But I started to look at the deviations in the setbacks and the distances between the buildings and the rear yards. And after looking it over for quite some time and weighing out the benefits of the additional open space, I feel that those compensate greatly for the deviations, such as the 10 feet between the buildings and the 26 feet in the rear yards.
Thank you. There is some give and take, and that's why
There is.
we applied for the PUD.
And with the crossing that you mentioned tonight, I didn't catch that in the drawing, and some of the other things that you're doing, I think that those far outweigh and the negatives that could have come into play in this project. That's my feelings, Mr.
I intend to have my grandchildren live here, and I'm serious. My backyard backs up to Orion Township. I live in Oakland Township, back right up to the same wetland watercourse that you see here, goes right to my backyard. And it would be my dream to have my children and grandchildren live in a community this close to me. And so, we have every intent that this is where I would live. If my socioeconomic level, what I'm seeking, that I would be proud to live here and be proud for my own family to live here.
Go ahead, Joe.
I just, real quick, I agree with the comments from my fellow commissioners in regard to the specifics regarding density and so forth. The only thing I want to say is, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And while this community may not be for everybody that lives in Orion Township, the developer's done his homework, and we all know that there are plenty of people in our community that will embrace this type of neighborhood. And especially as we all grow older and our families age and our kids move out, and we become less enamored with big yards and big homes and everything that comes along with taking care of those. This is the type of community, quite frankly, that I think a lot of folks that want to stay in Orion Township and in this part of Oakland County will embrace. So I think this whole notion of the new urbanization, yes, I understand what you're saying. I think that there's some real beauty to that thought of the new urbanization, especially as residents grow older. And quite frankly, this isn't just for older residents either. I mean, people of all ages have different desires and expectations and so forth. So I just think this is would be a welcome addition to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. I want to point, Mr. Chairman, to the photo that we just blown up, that's not AI. That's a street that we have done with a detached condo in Macomb County, and that's what it looks like. And sometimes these curvilinear streets, and we try and do all these things, but when you have a curvilinear street, you don't have the beauty of the landscaping, of this treescape and the canopy that you want to create. And that's, we're going to have this canopy. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It takes 5 to 10 years to get that canopy. But that's what those, in the single family and also in the condominium section, that's what you're going to get. This is not a sketch or rendering. This is what we've done, and we could have the proof in the pudding.
Thank you. All right, we are a recommending body this evening. If someone's willing to make a motion, we can further deliberate with that on the table. If we want to further discuss, we're also open to doing that too. Just moving towards kind of where we want to conclude the project or push it forward to the next step.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Relative to PC 2441, amendment to the Lavender Ridge PUD amendment located at the unaddressed parcel in the northeast corner of Silver Bell and Squirrel Roads, parcel 0936-226-001 for the plans date stamped and received October 30th, 2024. I'd recommend to the Township Board that the Planning Commission gives a favorable recommendation for the plan as submitted, since the proposed amendment is in compliance with the original PUD plan of an open space clustered residential development at the southeast corner of Silver Bell and Squirrel. The change in type of unit and mix of the units does not change the compliance with the original planned unit development for this site. Planning Commission believes that the proposed amendment introduces a mix of housing types, including a single-family home site, duplex sites, and townhouse sites, which is compatible with the predominantly single-family land uses surrounding the area. Continuation of significant open space and landscape buffering will help to ensure that the site remains compatible with this area as well. This proposed amendment will generate 99 less units and 100 and less trips per day than the previously approved planned unit development. And the proposed mixture of residential units is applied to the ITE trip generation tables. The proposed amendment will increase the open space over the originally approved plan, and the natural features that were to be preserved under the previously plan will remain preserved under the proposed amendment. And finally, the proposed amendment requires 5 additional zoning variations. Well, I'm not so sure they do. The amendment of the PUD allows for a variety of housing types, remains in conformance with the township master plan for this area, being a core area of a 15-minute neighborhood. With that approval, this recommendation for approval is subject to the Planning Commission receiving a review by the Township Planners review letter of October 30th, 2024 in compliance, and that the petitioner provides clarification of those issues on his revised plan, and that the engineer's letter of October 18th, 2024 also includes any unresolved issues.
All right, I have a motion to have support.
Support.
Support all at once. Mr. Cummins. He gets to be the winner, at least for this one. It's a couple of items. I agree with the motion, just that it would also be conditional upon the township's attorney to review any necessary amendments to PUD. And then also the fire department review be included in that. I believe that's kind of the nature and intent of the motion. And clarification of that, Mr. Cummins?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other item was just to clarify for the record, that are you looking for it to be revised and re-presented to ourselves, or just that a future revision be reviewed by staff? Is that your intent? I just want to
By
be.
staff.
Okay, all right, just to be reviewed by staff and professional consultants.
The modifications that are necessary are minor in nature.
Okay, understood. Tammy, go ahead.
I would also ask, it's not within our suggested motion, two things that were missed. The ordinance does require a list of deviations within the plan. So that list of deviation table be added to the plan. In addition, now that this is not rental, that there be approval by the consultants and the attorney of the condo documents.
Yep, I added the latter, but I think we agree with your first comment, and that prompted just the one comment that I had, that I would like there to be some clarification on the plan for the building footprint to include the deck space. I know it was spoken to this evening, but I think it could be clarified in the plan just for the avoidance of future variance approval.
As well as the garage location.
Yep, garage location. There was one other, I feel like there's one other thing that I wanted to, there's another note I had somewhere here. Oh, and then I think it wouldn't hurt to speak to the public benefit that was spoken here today, that the Jesse Decker Park contribution still remains intact, and that the applicant would petition for reduced road speed on Squirrel Road, and that there would be funding by the applicant for I believe the adequate, it would be rapid eye, right, eye crossing on Squirrel Road if approved by MDOT. Just for clarification, it's in our packet, but I don't know what the technical term, but essentially a signaled crossing, so.
Yeah, I think you're mid-block crossing with a RRFB,
There we go, that. I believe that,
and it would be by RCOC.
okay, thank you very much. So, I guess motion maker, do you support those comments?
I do.
Mr. Cummins?
Yes. I-
Okay, now that there's a motion to recommend approval on the table, further deliberation from the planning commission. Seeing none, any public deliberation or comment on the motion, including that of the public or that of the applicant? If you would like to make a comment, you got to step up to the podium for me, please, and so I can have you on record. State your name and address, please.
Should I give the address again and all that?
Yes, please, if you would.
All right, Joe Giordano, 3993 Ridgemont Court, Rochester, Michigan, 48306. I guess the question I didn't bring up before is, with the park, would that be that it would be closed at dusk kind of a thing? I know when I was at a meeting with Silver Creek, they had mentioned maybe crime issues or whatnot in that park. So it might be good if it's not opened up 24 hours that people can access it.
Duly noted. It is something that our staff, as kind of previously mentioned, are working with our Parks and Recreation Director on how that would act. I believe, really in common, most of our parks are dawn to dusk, correct? No, we're not for sure, but we'll definitely take that in consideration. I think safety is number one importance to the township and also how it's going to operate. So however it's going to be resolved, I believe there will be something addressed there. As kind of spoke to earlier, this is a recommending body, and there's going to be the chance when it gets voted in by the township board that maybe at that time there's a formal resolution at that point.
And just another comment, I think Dominic brought it up, that he might adjust that trail that's butting up against Silver Creek, because that house where Linda and I live, literally, if I do this, I'm on Orion Township's property. So if he can pull that a little bit back, that trail, not so close to where we're at, that way the people can maybe still have the foliage, and we can have the foliage, and they can walk and not be looking at our garage kind of thing.
Yep, duly noted. I think that's something we can easily take in consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further public discussion on the motion?
As Mr. Giordano requested, I would like to have that in the motion.
Okay.
And if there is a trail, passive trail, that it be at least 250 feet from the west boundary line of the Silver Creek community. Thank you. If you may, as a request, I'd like to have that in the motion.
You entertain-
So we don't forget.
Would you like to entertain the amendment, motion maker?
I would love to.
Wonderful, Mr. Cummins. Okay, as amended, to further discussion, any public discussion on the amended motion? All right, roll call vote, please.
St. Henry,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Urbanowski,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Lovett,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, as previously mentioned, this is a multi-step process, so please stay apprised if you'd like to be involved in it. It is going to go to the Township Board at a future meeting date. If you would like to know what that meeting date is, feel free to reach out to our Township staff. It will not be publicly advertised since there was a joint public hearing, but as always, we try and keep everyone involved and apprised of information as well as we can. But that does put some onus on you guys as property owners, but we're happy to help. So feel free to reach out, and if you could share the date amongst each other if it's important to share. Go ahead.
I want to thank the Planning Commission and the staff, Mark Landis, John Enos, and Tammy Gerling, because they're instrumental in can you soften these edges? Can you make those? And those accommodations and suggestions made the plan better. I do have a question for Ms. Gerling. This goes before the Township Board, and is it 30 days, 2 weeks? When is the anticipated meeting date so I could adjust my schedule?
I believe we had discussed you will immediately go to the Board of Trustees on November 18th.
Okay, thank you.
2 necessary meetings with a month in between, so you'll be going November 18th and December 16th.
I will be able to
That is
make
what
all
we're
those
planning
meetings.
right
Thank you. If I'm absent, my nephew and Nancy Standish and Chris Bronzetti, you're in good hands and probably can answer the questions better than I can. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that concludes 7A in our agenda this evening and leads us to 7B, which is our 2025 Planning Commission meeting dates within our packet this evening. I'll make this easy, and I'll go ahead and put a motion on the table that'll move that the Planning Commission approve the 2025 PC meeting dates as amended and forward to the Board of Trustee for adoption with the striking of July 2nd from that proposed. Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Mrs. Urbanowski this go-around. Further discussion by the Planning Commission. Generally speaking, my feeling is it's always plus or minus July 4th, and it's a very difficult meeting to get attendance to. So I will have a forced vacation day out of our 26 meetings a year on the week of July 4th. Sorry, Tammy. So further discussion by the Planning Commission. Any public discussion on the motion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Urbanowski.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Lovett.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
St. Henry.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. That will lead us to our unfinished business, item 8A. If you'd like to step up to the podium for us, walk us through your application, and we can deliberate from there. You know what, why you guys are setting up, since there was a previous approval on the case, we're gonna go ahead and withdraw our previous motions while you guys are getting set up. So as the original motion maker, I move to rescind my motion of the conditional special land use approval on March 20th, 2024 for PC 23-58, PTB boat and RV storage, and replace that motion with a motion to postpone special land use approval PC 23-58, PTV boat and RV storage special land use located west of 3020 Indianwood Road and east of 3200 Indianwood Road, parcel 0905301016 for the planned date stand perceived February 27th, 2024, for the opportunity for the applicant to revise their initial application as presented this evening. And as the original supporter, Mr. Walker?
Yes, I withdraw my support of the motion of conditional special land use approval made on March 20th, 2024 for PC 2358 PTV boat and RV storage special land use and second the motion to postpone the special land use approval.
All right, so I have motion and support. Can I have a roll call vote, please? Again, this is procedural, just the fact to remove the previous approval so we can consider the case in front of us this evening. Roll call vote, please, hopefully with Mrs. Urbanowski at the end of said motion. Ms. Urbanowski, we just had the motion to essentially rescind the previous motions and postpone the case, so we have the chance to deliberate on the case this evening, and I just called a motion for a roll call.
Cummins. Cummins.
Yes.
St. Henry. Yes. Urbanowski.
Yes.
Gross. Yes. Lovett.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that opens up the opportunity for you as the applicant this evening. Thank you very much. Go ahead, walk us through your application this evening.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. I am Mac Hall with Plattman Toy Vault. We're here this evening to amend our special land use. The only change we are requesting is to go from a by right ownership model to a rental model. That's the only change we're requesting, and I'm here to answer any questions based off of this change.
Wonderful. At this time, I'll turn it over to our planner for their review. Go ahead, Tammy.
Sorry to interrupt. Just procedurally, the motions you did was to rediscuss the special land use. Do you want to, at this time, also do the same on the site plan so we can discuss the both of them together?
Why not, Tammy? Let's do it. Let's,
All
we can just roll right into the next one.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Walker, are you ready for this?
I believe so.
Okay, and Mr. St. Henry, you're going to have to be ready there too. So.
I'm ready.
All right, wonderful. We'll give you guys the floor then. Mr. Walker. This.
Where am I here?
Where was your site plan, right? Here, read this on it.
Ready.
It's been a long week, elections included,
It
right?
has.
So we're
With
essentially
regard to
just.
site plan.
Yep.
Take it easy, take it easy. Calm down. Site plan ordinance number 78, section 3001, PC 2330 PTV, boat and RV storage site plan. I move to rescind my motion of conditional site plan approval made on March 20th, 2024 for PC 2330 PTV boat and RV storage site plan and replace that motion with a motion to postpone site plan approval for PC 2330 PTV boat and RV, we should have less initials in there. PT boat and RV storage site plan located at west of 3020 Indianwood Road and east of 3200 Indianwood Road, parcel 0905301016, for plans date stamp received February 27th, 2024, for the following reasons: that the petitioner is changing, what are you changing?
For ownership to for lease.
From for ownership to for lease.
All right, Mr. St. Henry. All right, so I have a motion on the table. Do I have an amendment from the original motion maker? Go ahead.
I withdraw my support of the motion of conditional site plan approval made on March 20th, 2024 for PC-23-30 PTV boat and RV storage site plan, and second the motion to postpone site plan approval.
All right, I have a motion, I have support, and any further discussion by the planning commission? Any discussion by the public? Roll call vote, please.
Lovett.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
St. Henry.
Yes.
Gross. Urbanowski.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now, that gives us the opportunity to talk about special land use and site plan approval all in one swoop, so we can make this lickety-split. I'll turn it over to our consultants for their review. I know minor changes, but go ahead, walk us through if any comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very minimal number of comments, really just some clarifications on tree mitigation, lighting. They have addressed those in an email. And this is just a change to the way they own these these units. So these are easily addressed issues. Thank you.
Engineering, any comments?
No, but thank you.
Okay.
They've addressed all of our previous concerns, and we have no issues with the change.
Wonderful. All right, I know that we're essentially talking around the same thing, so we'll just bring up kind of similar topics that we have discussed in the past with the special land use. So can you walk us through essentially how this is going to be managed now that it is for rent? Is there any changes to that, and how will it be
It
managed?
will be managed by a property management company that we would engage.
Okay.
And it will be governed by the CCNRs. And then we will have all those items that were listed in the docket for, the light, the no drains, no hazard material, no living in them, would all be in the CCNRs. And be managed by and enforced by the property management company.
Okay, and correct, fill me in, what is CCR, what,
The covenants and restrictions.
okay. Okay, so under essentially operational regulations. Okay, all right, thank you for that clarification. Generally speaking, I don't have any issues. I'll walk through a couple of the conditions that were part of the special land use in the past. We obviously set operational hours of 7 to 10 p.m. with decibel levels, not to exceed the township ordinance, with the understanding that outside of those hours were quiet hours to be used, previously by property owners, but I would say at this point either by property ownership or by tenants. The fact that there's at least some sort of repercussions or for violations of such actions, brought forth by ownership or property management. If there were comments brought forth by the township code enforcement or anyone else, we had said no sleeping, no parties, no washing RVs inside or outside, and no exterior modifications. Are those all conditions that we're able to maintain? Sure. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, with that said, I'll go ahead and put a motion on the table, and then we can further deliberate, if that's okay. I'll move that the Planning Commission approve PC 23-58 PTV Boat and RV Storage Special Land Request for recreational vehicle storage located west of 3020 Indianwood Road and east of 3200 Indianwood Road, parcel 0905301016 for planned date stamp received October 16th, 2024. This approval is based on the following findings of fact. The use is compatible with the adjacent limited industrial uses, and that the buffering will provide compatibility with the residential zone to the north, and adequate public services are provided, and the use is permitted within our master plan. With that said, there is a condition upon this special land use approval that the normal operation hours are considered to be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. With decibel levels not to exceed the township ordinance, sound ordinance, and outside of those operational hours, it's understood that those will be considered quote quiet hours where only owners of said property or tenants of said property will have access to the property. Repercussions will be in place for violations of sound ordinance violations, and will be brought forth by property ownership or property management when brought forth by Orion Township Code Enforcement. It is the understanding that units will not be used for sleeping or parties of any sort, and that there will be no recreational vehicle washing inside or outside of units, and that there will be no exterior modifications proposed by tenants or that of the like. I have a motion. Do I have support?
I'll support that, Mr. Motion Maker, if you'll add that we also have a report from the fire commissioner approving this matter.
Yep, understood. So I will amend my support, or amend my motion to include the fire marshal's letter, and you provided your support already, so your amended support. So with that said, we have a motion for special land use on the table with conditions. So now I'll open up for the Planning Commission for further deliberation, discussion, questions, comments. Go ahead, Tammy.
Seeking clarification, so I was taking notes as you were writing it, so you had the hours from 7 to 10.
Yep.
Notation on the sound, but then you go on to say outside of the quiet hours, owners and tenants only. So you're saying after 10 p.m.?
Correct.
They're able to access, so they're able to access it 24 hours a day?
Yeah, that was my understanding, but it would only be of either property ownership or a tenant. Further discussion, comments, questions? Okay. Any comments, questions by the applicant or that of the public? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Cummins,
Yes.
Urbanowski,
Yes.
Dan Henry,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Gross, Lovett,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that gives you special land use approval. With that said, we can turn over to the site plan approval. There's obviously some minor comments from a few of our consultants. If someone's willing to make a motion, we can handle it similarly, or we can discuss either way.
I would move that the Planning Commission grant site plan approval for PC 2330 PTV boat and RV storage site plan located at west of 3020 Indianwood Road and east of 3200 Indianwood Road, parcel 0905301016 for the planned state stamped and received October 16th, 2024, based upon the facts that the plan meets the ordinance requirements and subject to the petitioner resolving any issues outstanding by the Township Planner's letter of October 30th, 2024, and the Fire Marshal's review of November 6th, 2024.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have support? Support. Okay, support by Mr. Lovett. I do believe it's worth a discussion on a couple of the comments from the planner review letter, because it's some open-ended prompts. So I do think it's worth the discussion. I'll bring up a few of them. Documentation from the lighting consultant, sensitivity of motion, ensure that it's not activated by animals or vehicles passing by. Is that something, that we're looking to have?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Okay, so some of these are items that I think it's worth discussing, hours, lighting, on or off, kind of in connection to that. Is that outside of those operational hours? What do we want to see here? I think we need to provide some guidance so our consultants know what to look for in a revision.
Operational hours as per the special use approval.
Okay?
And activation by animals or vehicles passing by should be motion sensitive.
That is not activating it. That is just strictly people on site, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I tend to agree with that. I don't have any issue, with just essentially having, minimal light levels, in off hours. So, and I think the other kind of comments here is related to hazardous materials, that we're essentially clarifying that we aren't allowing that, and that, they're not living quarters, and that they're not installing drains. I know the special land use does kind of speak to some of those things, but also on the site plan to just, clarify that those are not permitted or understood as not permitted. So I guess if anyone has disagreement with that, now's the chance to speak to it. John, do you have something to add? Go ahead.
In regards to that and also the lighting, the applicant has agreed to all of those. They just need to verify those on a revised plan.
Okay. So I think bigger picture, is there any other outstanding comments, John, that you would like us to discuss, give some guidance to?
No, those light fixtures were a question, and I'm just not sure. I mean, they will be activated per motion. It's just gonna take some time for the applicant to get them right in regards to how they're gonna shine.
So in corresponding with our electrical engineer, he told us that, you can, by the direction angle of how you mount them on the unit, is how you sensitivity of how they're detected. Yeah, and the right reflector of how it's going, so. That'll be all specified in the construction plans themselves, exactly what that light fixture will be.
Okay.
And you'll add those requirements on hazardous and living units and all those things on the plan, so we've got
Yeah,
specific.
so we'll add them to our special land use conditions on our site plan that's up there now. We'll add those to that. And also, John, you are correct, there was the 4 trees that were also in that hillside grading. We removed those and put the tree protection around that with that note. So we've already made that modification.
Very good.
So I think just to clarify, essentially, the applicant will address the open comments from the planner's report and as discussed with this meeting this evening and approved by our consultant. Agreed? Who was the motion maker? I forget.
You were.
Mr. Gross, you agree with that? And support was Mr. Urbanowski? Was that you?
Yeah, no.
I don't recall, sorry.
Love it.
Thank you. Mr. Lovett, you at the other end, future trustee. Go ahead, Tammy.
I did have one more thing. As noted, they had added on to this plan that they just showed the list of the special conditions, which, if any have changed, they need to amend that.
Yep, and I think that's the intent, correct, Mr. Gross? Yes. Do you agree, Mr. Lovett? Yes. Okay, wonderful. Further discussion by the planning commission? Any public discussion on the motion, including that of the applicant? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Urbanowski.
Yes.
Gross. St. Henry.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Lovett.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes
Just
your.
for clarification, is all this handled by staff review moving forward
Correct.
during the building and the engineering review?
Yes, so,
Including
yes,
them.
it will include our professional consultants. So we're essentially looking for you to formally have site plan approval. We're looking for a resubmission to address the open comments here this evening. It will get re-reviewed by our staff. Prior to issuing, feel free to check me, Mark, but there is the final engineering phase, right? And then you will have the opportunity to apply for your building permits and proceed.
Okay. So engineering approval, then building permit approval?
Correct. Generally speaking, that's all things handled via our staff, a few different departments, but we will guide you through it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. All right, this evening, do we have any public comments? Anyone else left in the audience besides a applicant? We have no communications this evening. Planner report and education, we have none. Committee reports, we have none. We do have two future public hearings at the November 20th meeting. At 7:05, we have PC case 24-45, Oakland Resilience Interconnect Special Land Use Request for a Public Utility Natural Gas Valve Station located at 1835 Walden Road, parcel 0928-251-008. Immediately following PC 24-45 at 7:05, we will have a public hearing for PC 24-46. Did I say that twice? Okay, either way. For Kroger D649 Fuel Center, special land use request for a gas station located at 3111 South Baldwin Road, 0929-126-039. All right, with that said, I just chuckled to myself because when people said, do I have to say my address twice? And I'm like, you know what? You know how many times I got to say an address or a parcel name? You can repeat it for the second time. All right, Mr. Lovett, congratulations on your new role. Do you have any comments this evening?
I just want to thank all the people that volunteered and worked the polls. Couldn't run an election with all the volunteers, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Walker.
Two things. Most importantly, on my monitor, it says it is 6:53 PM.
Yeah.
So who's in charge of setting, you have to set the time back, did you set it back 2 hours?
Well, we just wanted to make sure you showed up a couple hours early for every meeting.
Well, I tend to do that, but is it important, like for a legal case, if the time, oh my goodness,
It sounds like you're speaking from law experience.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
And secondly,
Wasn't it the applicant's computer who's from Arizona?
Was that what you were referring to, what you saw up on the screen?
Might be.
Yeah,
no, I'm talking,
This?
turn that on.
This
which
screen?
was from his computer.
Oh, it's because the applicant's from a different time zone.
Hold on. And secondly, more importantly, the Oregon Public Library holiday baskets are out.
I did see that when I voted today, or
you
not
voted? You
today,
bid on
but a
something
couple.
today?
I did, I put my name down on a couple items, but that's my polling location, so I did see those baskets out.
And somebody said we are a genius for getting that out the same day the election was, because we had more traffic baskets.
Someone was asking if it was just an odd correlation, and I said, it was very good planning on the Friends of the Library part. Whether it was convenient or by plan, it worked out well, so.
It did.
Any other concluding comments, Mr. Walker? All right, Mr. St. Henry.
I'm good tonight.
Mr. Gross.
Nothing.
Ms. Urbanowski.
Congratulations, future trustee, Mr. Lovett. You will be the new board rep to the Planning Commission, so this is my last meeting as such. So we'll have to switch chairs and get yet a third placard for me, because the one that says trustee doesn't work, the one that says treasurer doesn't work, now I have to.
You just get to be like the rest of us.
I know.
With one.
Going flipping chairs and stuff, but hopefully I get to stick around for the Planning Commission, but.
Yep. And thank you, Kim, for everything you've done for the township. So, this chapter is concluding, a little bit of a transition, but we thank you for your service and everything you do for the township, so. Mr. Cummins.
Oh, I'm very good, thank you much.
Awesome. Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
Who else?
It-
Tammy.
It is
Tammy.
November the 6th. I'm just reminding everyone of their educational requirement before the end of the year. I know there's someone that took some that has to report to the board, so please let me know when you want that on the agenda. Those of you that have not, I have a couple that I could recommend. Please get a hold of me so you can get that done.
I have a Zoom call, or a Zoom learning session, middle of the month, so I'll be good after that.
All right, good.
The new guy.
She's gonna come for you. Get it done.
Yeah. And to be clear, we're just looking for essentially an update or a report back, right? And differences or
Something
things
you got
can
from the
share.
class.
Yep.
So I know that there was one that Mr. Cummins went to that he said, wow, this is really interesting because we were at the same conference. And I said, I think that would be a great one to report on. It was related to conditions on motion. And so really just anything you got from it that you can deliver to the other members so that they can get something out of it also in spite of not attending the class.
Wonderful. All right, with that said, I have 8:56. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Mrs. Urbanowski. All those in favor, please say with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.